The wedding night is supposed to be magical. The moment two souls finally become one. But that night, I lay awake in silence, waiting. My husband said he was tired and turned away. I stared at the ceiling, trying to believe him. Then, just past midnight, I heard something I'll never forget. Voices, whispers, then soft, strange sounds coming from down the hall, from his mother's room. My heart stopped. That was the moment I knew. This marriage wasn't what it seemed. My name is Clara, and I thought I had just married the love of my life. Michael was charming, polite, and deeply devoted, or so I believed. Our wedding day had been perfect. The flowers, the music, the laughter, everything was beautiful. But as night fell and the guests left, something inside me felt uneasy. Michael looked distracted, almost nervous. I brushed it off, thinking he was just exhausted from the big day. When we entered our room, he kissed my forehead and said softly, "I'm tired, Clara. Let's rest." I smiled, trying not to let disappointment show. It was our first night as husband and wife, and he wanted to sleep? "Of course," I whispered, pretending it didn't matter. He turned off the lights, laid beside me for a moment, then rolled away. Minutes turned into hours. I stared at the darkness, feeling lonelier than ever. My heart pounded with confusion. Was he having second thoughts? Was I not enough for him? I tried to calm my mind, but the silence of the house grew heavier. Until suddenly, I heard it. A faint sound coming from the hallway. It was subtle at first, a door creaking open, then soft footsteps. I sat up, listening closely. The sound stopped. Then came a low murmur, followed by a quiet laugh. My stomach twisted. It was Michael's voice. I froze, my breath shallow. Why was he awake? And why did his voice come from his mother's room? I slipped out of bed, careful not to make a sound. The floorboards creaked under my bare feet. As I crept toward the hallway, the noises grew clearer. A woman's voice, older, familiar. My mother-in-law, Martha. My mind raced. Was she sick? Did he go to check on her? I approached the door slowly, my hands shaking. The air felt thick, heavy with tension. I pressed my ear to the door. What I heard made my heart stop. "Don't worry," Martha's voice said softly. "She doesn't suspect anything." Michael's voice followed. "She's naive, Mother. It's all going as planned." I covered my mouth to keep from gasping. Planned? What was he talking about? "Once she signs the documents," he whispered, "we'll have full control." "Good," Martha replied. "You always were my clever boy." My knees weakened. I stepped back, tears blurring my vision. They were talking about me, my husband, and his mother. I stumbled back to my room, my mind spinning. My wedding night had become a nightmare. I sat on the edge of the bed, my hands trembling. What documents? What plan? A wave of nausea hit me. I realized I didn't even know the man I had married. I wanted to confront him, scream, cry, demand answers. But fear held me back. What if he hurt me? What if this was all part of something bigger? I waited in silence, pretending to be asleep when he returned. The mattress dipped slightly as he lay beside me again. His breathing was calm, steady, like nothing had happened. I stared at his back, feeling the cold wall between us. In that moment, I knew I couldn't stay blind. The man I loved had a secret, and it involved his own mother. The next morning, he smiled at me like nothing was wrong. "Did you sleep well, my love?" he asked casually. I forced a smile. "Yes, of course." Inside, I was breaking. Over breakfast, I watched how they interacted. Martha's eyes flickered toward me, full of something strange, almost pity. Michael avoided my gaze. I noticed small things, whispers, glances, half smiles they shared. They thought I was clueless, but I wasn't. That day, I began watching closely. I noticed how every letter addressed to me ended up in Michael's hands first, how my bank cards mysteriously disappeared, how Martha always mentioned our home when speaking of my inheritance. My father had left me everything: the house, the land, and a trust fund. And now I knew what the documents were. They were trying to take it all. But why? How could a mother and son be so cruel? That night, I cried quietly into my pillow. My heart ached for the man I thought I married, for the life I thought I was starting. But something inside me changed. I wiped my tears. I made a promise. I would find out the truth. And when I did, I would make them regret ever underestimating me. The next morning, I played my part. I acted the perfect wife. Kind, obedient, unaware. "Michael, darling," I said sweetly. I was thinking of updating some papers. His eyes lit up, though he tried to hide it. "That's a great idea, love," he said quickly. "I'll help you with it." I smiled, hiding my disgust. They wanted my signature. Fine, I'd give them what they wanted, but on my terms. Over the next few days, I quietly visited my lawyer. I asked him to prepare a new set of documents, ones that looked exactly like the originals, but said something very different. In these papers, every asset would go to charity if anything happened to me, not to Michael, not to Martha. I signed them silently, sealing my revenge. When I came home, Michael greeted me with a grin. "Did you handle the papers?" he asked. "Yes," I said softly. "Everything's taken care of." He hugged me, pretending affection. I hugged him back, pretending love. But inside, I whispered, "You have no idea what's coming." That night, I lay awake again, staring at the ceiling fan spinning slowly above me. My heart no longer raced from fear, but from focus. Every move I made had to be careful, precise. Michael thought he was manipulating me, but he had no idea I was 2 steps ahead. He didn't notice the small recorder I had hidden beneath our bed, or the extra key I kept tucked inside my pillowcase. For days, I watched and waited, and every day, they grew bolder. "Clara, dear," Martha said sweetly one morning, "you really should let Michael handle your finances." "Men are better at that sort of thing," I smiled politely. "Oh, you're right. I trust him completely." Her eyes gleamed with satisfaction. But behind that smile, I saw something else. Greed. It wasn't just about money. It was about control. Michael was her puppet, and she was pulling every string. Later that day, I followed Michael to his office downtown. I waited across the street, pretending to shop, but my eyes never left him. He met with a man in a dark suit, someone I didn't recognize. They shook hands. Michael handed him an envelope. My gut told me it wasn't business. It was part of their plan. I took photos discreetly with my phone, my hands trembling slightly. Proof. I finally had proof. That night, when he returned home, I pretended nothing had happened. He kissed my cheek and asked, "How was your day?" "Wonderful," I said softly, forcing a smile. "I spent some time in the garden." The garden. My sanctuary. It was the only place in that house where I could still breathe. But even there, I felt the walls closing in. I caught Martha watching me from the window sometimes. Always watching. Always listening. One evening, I found her in my room, going through my drawer. "Oh, I was just looking for some linens," she lied quickly. "Of course," I replied calmly, though my blood boiled. That was the moment I realized. She didn't trust me either. It was a silent war between us. Each smile was a weapon. Each word was a test. Dinner's ready, I said coldly, walking past her. That night, Michael poured me a glass of wine. To us, he said, raising his glass. Family, Martha added. I hesitated. The wine shimmered in the candlelight. I noticed something odd. Only my glass was already poured when I arrived. I smiled faintly, but didn't drink. To family, I repeated, setting the glass down untouched. Their smiles faltered slightly. Not thirsty? Michael asked. Just saving it for later, I replied, meeting his gaze. That night I poured the wine down the sink, and it smelled strange. Metallic. Bitter. My chest tightened. Were they trying to drug me? I didn't sleep that night. Instead, I recorded everything. Their footsteps, their whispers. At dawn, I left quietly and met my lawyer again. It's worse than I thought, I told him, showing the photos and audio. He frowned deeply. Mrs. Davis, this isn't just fraud. It's conspiracy. I want to stop them legally, I said, my voice trembling but firm. Then we'll need them to incriminate themselves completely. His words lit a spark inside me. I knew exactly what to do. That evening, I told Michael I wanted to celebrate our new beginning. A dinner, I said sweetly. Just the three of us. He smiled instantly, almost too eagerly. That's a wonderful idea, darling, he said. I'll make reservations, Martha offered, her voice dripping with false affection. No, I said. I'll cook. The shock on their faces almost made me laugh. They weren't used to me being in control. That night, I made their favorite dishes, lamb roast and red wine sauce. Everything smells amazing, Michael said. It's a special night, I replied. I want to thank you both. They exchanged pleased glances, thinking they had won. As we ate, I subtly placed a small recorder under the table. Michael, I began softly, about the papers you mentioned. His fork froze midair. What papers? You know, I smiled. The ones you wanted me to sign last week? Martha shifted uncomfortably. Oh, those, he said quickly. Just some legal stuff. Right, I said, leaning closer. Legal stuff that gives you everything my father left me. His face turned pale. Clara, that's not... Oh, please, I interrupted, my voice calm but sharp. I heard everything. Martha slammed her fork down. You what? The night of our wedding, I said coldly. You were loud enough. Their silence was deafening. So you know? Michael said finally, his tone changing. Darker, colder. I know enough, I said. Then why are you still here? Martha sneered. Because, I replied, smiling faintly. I wanted to see how far you'd go. You stupid woman, she hissed. You should have just signed and left quietly. Oh, I did sign, I said softly. Just not what you think. Michael frowned. What do you mean? You'll see soon enough, I said. I stood up, collecting my plate. You're not going anywhere, Michael snapped, grabbing my arm. His grip was tight, painful. Let me go, I said, my voice steady. You think you can play games with me? He shouted. I think I already won, I replied. The words hung in the air like fire. You have no idea who you're dealing with, Martha spat. A mother who raised a con man, I said coldly. I think I do. I yanked my arm free and left the room. I could hear them arguing behind me. Panicked, desperate whispers. She knows Michael, Martha hissed. Do something. I will, he snapped. Tonight. I closed my bedroom door quietly, locking it from the inside. My hands shook, but I forced myself to stay calm. I sent a quick message to my lawyer. They're planning something tonight. Be ready. Within minutes, he replied, police on standby. I hid my phone and turned off the lights. My heart pounded as I waited. Midnight approached, the same time I'd heard whispers on my wedding night. Footsteps echoed in the hallway. Slow, deliberate. A shadow appeared under the door. The doorknob turned, gently, then harder. "Clara," Michael whispered. "Are you awake?" I didn't answer. The knob twisted again, this time violently. "Open the door!" he hissed. I stayed silent, clutching the phone in my hand. "She's not listening," Martha whispered from behind him. "Break it!" The sound of splintering wood filled the air. The door burst open. "What are you doing?" I cried, backing away. "You should have just listened," Michael growled, stepping forward. I hit send on my phone. Within seconds, sirens wailed in the distance. His eyes widened. "What did you do?" "I called for witnesses," I said, my voice trembling but strong. He turned to run, but flashing lights filled the windows. Police flooded the house within moments. "Michael Davis, you're under arrest," one officer shouted. "What? No, she's lying!" he screamed. "We have recordings, signatures, and witnesses," the officer replied. Martha tried to speak, but her voice cracked. "I didn't." "You did," I said softly. "And it's all on tape." As they were led away, I stood in the doorway, tears streaming down my face. The woman who destroyed my wedding night now looked small, powerless. "You'll regret this," Martha screamed. "No," I whispered. "You will." The night air was cold, but freeing. For the first time in weeks, I could breathe again. The officer stayed until everything was secured. My lawyer arrived, handing me a folder. "It's over," he said quietly. "They'll face charges." I nodded, still in disbelief. "Thank you," I whispered. "You were brave," he replied. "But this isn't the end yet. We'll need you in court." "I'll be there," I promised. When he left, I sat on the porch alone, watching dawn break. The sky turned soft pink, light creeping through the darkness. I thought about the girl I'd been. Naive, hopeful, blind. That girl was gone. What remained was a woman who had survived betrayal, who had seen evil, and faced it. I wrapped a blanket around my shoulders and whispered to myself, "It's finally over." But deep down, I knew it wasn't quite over yet, because the truth always leaves scars, and mine were just beginning to heal. A week later, I received a letter from prison, from Martha. My hands shook as I opened it. "You think you won?" it read. But Michael wasn't the only one with a plan. My blood ran cold. Attached to the letter was a photo of me, taken recently. Someone had been watching me. I dropped the letter, heart racing. I thought it was over, but I was wrong. There was still one more secret left to uncover. I couldn't sleep that night. Martha's letter burned in my mind. Michael wasn't the only one with a plan. What did that mean? Was someone else involved? I checked every window, every lock. The silence in the house felt heavier than ever. Every creak sounded like footsteps. Every shadow looked alive. I picked up the phone and called Detective Harris. "I got a letter from Martha," I whispered. "You need to see this." "We'll be there in the morning," he said. "Don't go anywhere, and don't open the door for anyone." I nodded, though my hands trembled. I sat near the window all night, watching the empty road. At dawn, I heard a faint knock. I froze. The detective wasn't supposed to arrive until 9 a.m. "Who's there?" I called out. Silence. I took a cautious step toward the door. Then another knock, louder this time. "It's me," said a voice I recognized instantly. "Michael." My heart dropped. "You're supposed to be in prison," I said through the door. "I was released," he said coldly. "You didn't tell the whole truth, Clara." "You're lying," I whispered. "Open the door and find out." I backed away, dialing Harris again. No signal. My hands shook. "Go away, Michael," I yelled. "You destroyed everything." He laughed, low, bitter. "You did that yourself," he said. "You took everything from me. But I still have something you want. What could you possibly have left?" "Your father's real will." My breath caught. "That's impossible." "I have the documents." "No, you have my version of the documents," he said, his voice filled with mockery. "The real ones are with me." My knees weakened. "You're lying," I repeated. "Am I?" he asked. "Martha made sure you'd never see the truth." My mind raced. "What are you talking about?" "Your father's company," he said. "It wasn't left to you. It was left to her." "To Martha?" I gasped. "No," he said quietly. "To your mother." My blood ran cold. "My mother's dead." "That's what you were told," he said. I felt the room spin. "Stop lying," I shouted. "Ask yourself," he said. "Why did your father keep you away from her? Why did he hide her identity?" I slammed the door shut and locked it again. His words echoed in my head. Could it be true? My father never spoke of my mother. Ever. And Martha. She always looked at me strangely, like she knew something I didn't. The phone finally rang. Detective Harris. "Stay inside," he ordered. "We're coming right now." "He's here," I cried. "Michael's here." "We'll be there in 5 minutes." I peeked through the window, but Michael was gone. Just his shadow remained on the porch. When the police arrived, I showed them the letter. "We'll trace this," Harris said. "Don't worry, he won't get far." But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was still unfinished. That night, I dug through my father's old safe. Inside were files, keys, and an old photograph. My father, a woman, and Martha. My heart skipped a beat. The woman beside him looked almost like me. On the back of the photo was written, "For Clara, when she's ready to know." I sat frozen, tears in my eyes. That woman was my real mother, and Martha knew all along. "She stole everything," I whispered. The lies, the manipulation. It all made sense. Martha wasn't just Michael's mother. She was the woman who destroyed my family. I finally understood what my father had meant when he said, "Don't trust her." The next morning, Harris called again. "We found Michael's car," he said, "abandoned on the highway." "And him?" I asked. "No sign." "But there was a note. What did it say?" "She knows everything now." My hands trembled. "So he's still out there?" "Yes," Harris said grimly, "and he won't stop." Days turned into weeks. I tried to live normally, but paranoia became my shadow. Every ring of the phone made my heart race. One afternoon, I found a small box on my porch. No name, no return address. Inside was a flash drive and a single rose petal. My stomach dropped. I plugged it into my laptop with shaking hands. The screen flickered to life, and a video began playing. It was my wedding night. I saw myself crying in bed. The camera zoomed slowly through the crack in my door. It wasn't security footage. It was handheld. Someone had been in the house that night, watching me. The camera panned toward Martha's room and stopped at the door. I heard Michael's voice whisper, "Are you sure she's asleep?" Martha's voice replied, "She's weak, like her mother." I gasped. Tears blurred my vision. "They filmed it," I whispered. "They filmed everything." The video ended with a final frame. A message. "You'll never be safe, Clara." My knees buckled. I dropped to the floor, sobbing. Harris arrived within the hour. "They're still playing games," he said angrily. "No," I said. "This isn't a game anymore." "Then what is it?" "A warning." He looked at me, puzzled. Martha isn't just bitter. She's dangerous. She has people on the outside. You think she's controlling this from prison? I know she is. I took a deep breath. It's time to end this. What do you mean? I'm gonna see her. Harris frowned. That's risky. So was marrying Michael, I said bitterly. I'll survive this too. A week later, I walked into the prison's cold visitation room. Martha sat there, calm, confident, like she'd been expecting me. Clara? She smiled. You look so much like her. Like who? I asked. Your mother. My heart pounded. You killed her. No, she said softly. I saved her. Saved her? I snapped. From what? From your father. You're lying. He wasn't who you think he was, she said, leaning closer. He wasn't a hero. He was a thief. Stop, I cried. He stole from me, she said coldly, and your mother helped him. But I took back what was mine. By marrying your son to me. By making sure the past would never repeat. You ruined lives, I whispered. I restored balance, she said proudly. Michael will come for you, Clara. It's already set in motion. He'll never touch me again. Oh, but he already has, she said, smirking. I frowned. What do you mean? She leaned forward and whispered, Check your bank account. The guard called time. I left the room shaking. In the car, I opened my phone and froze. My account balance was 0. Every penny, gone. No, I whispered. A message popped up on the screen. From Michael. You took my freedom. I took your fortune. My chest ached. Harris called moments later. Clara, are you okay? He emptied my account, I said. We'll trace it. He can't hide forever, but deep down, I knew. This was never about money. It was about power and control. That night, I sat on the porch again, just like before. The same cold wind, the same stars above. But I was different now. I wasn't afraid anymore. I'd lost everything, except myself. And sometimes, it's all you need to start again. The next morning, I walked into my lawyer's office. We can rebuild, he said. No, I said quietly. We can fight back. I handed him the USB. Release it. Are you sure? He asked. It'll destroy their reputation completely. They destroyed my life, I said. It's only fair. Within days, the footage went public. News outlets exploded. Wealthy family scandal. Mother and son conspired against bride. Their names were everywhere. Martha's remaining influence, gone. Michael was captured weeks later in another state. When he saw me in court, he didn't speak a word, but his eyes said everything. Hate, regret, and fear. The judge sentenced them both to 20 years. I walked out of the courtroom with tears in my eyes. They were tears of freedom. The nightmare was over. I stood outside, feeling the sun on my face. Goodbye, Martha, I whispered. Goodbye, Michael. You may have stolen my wedding night, I said softly, but not my life. I smiled for the first time in months, and this time, it was real.